Okay, so welcome to lecture number 8 of machine learning. From the last two lectures, we have been studying about neural networks, and in this lecture, we will hopefully complete the topic of neural networks. In this lecture, we will study about how to train neural networks. But as a general recap, in the last lecture, we introduced this general neural architecture, also called as the feed-forward neural network, sometimes also called as the sometimes also called as the vanilla neural network. And I will briefly go over through this. So this network has basically three types of layers. One is an input layer, and then we have hidden layers, and then finally we have output layer. Now the input layers, as I said in the last lecture, they basically are not computational layers. They are just there for notational purpose, and the only job they have is to pass the input, that is this X vector, to the first hidden layer. The output layer helps us compute the output. So in this case, if it's a classification task, it will compute the Y vector, and that will be basically, as we discussed it will be softmax, fine, softmax of the whatever the inputs of the previous layer. And these hidden layers are the actual computational units, and all of them are basically neurons composed of two parts. One is an aggregator, and then there is a nonlinearity, and this aggregator receives inputs from the previous layer, and then the nonlinearity, each this aggregator computes a weighted sum and passes that on to the nonlinearity, and then this nonlinearity will produce an output. Now, based on the nonlinearity, if it's a softmax, it will be an output between 0 and 1. If it's a tan H type of nonlinearity, it will be -1 to +1, so on and so forth. Different types of nonlinearities are there. And the thing which we need to consider about this neural network is that, as I said the last time as well, each layer has 5 things associated with each. So each layer has 5 things. So first is the input. So if we are talking about layer L, then it has inputs from layer A L -1. So it's a vector, fine. So if we add this layer, then A L 0 -1, so that means the input layer. So as you can see, if we take any neuron from any of the layers, then it receives inputs from this neuron, each of the previous layer neurons, and that is denoted by this A1, fine. The second thing is we compute the Z vector. That means for each vector, as I said, each neuron, there is an aggregator. So each neuron will produce one Z value, that aggregation value, that will be ZL. Then that ZL will be passed to the nonlinearity. So we will compute this activation. So this is called as the pre-activation, and this is called as the activation of a particular neuron. And then associated with each layer, there are 2 parameters. One is the weight matrix, Oh, I'm sorry, the mic was muted. So as I was saying that sorry for this glitch. So as I was saying that each layer has 5 things. One is this input that it takes from the previous layer. It computes a pre-activation, then it computes an activation. And then there are two types of parameters associated with each layer. One is the weight matrix, WL, and the bias vector. So as I was saying that if we take any of the neurons from some layer, so let me take the second neuron of the first hidden layer, and it receives inputs from all of these here. So somebody is saying something. So can you now hear it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So so if we take this neuron here, so it will receive inputs from each of the previous layer neurons. So the pre-activation will then be calculated as A. So this is A01, and then there is a weight associated with this edge here, and that is W of 1, the first layer weight. So W1 means the weight is in layer 1, and 1, 2 here means the weight is the edge is between neuron 1 of previous layer to the current neuron, that is the neuron number 2. So this weight here. So if you can see this weight here, this was W112. Similarly, we can compute this. So this, it receives inputs from the second neuron here as well. So this weight is W122, similarly, so on and so forth. So we have a weight matrix associated with, so with each neuron there will be a weight vector, and then if we arrange them all in a matrix, that will become a matrix. Fine. So we say that with each layer there is a weight matrix. And then finally, each neuron will also receive a bias term. So we have one bias vector associated with each layer. Right? So that is what we did the last time, and then we found out certain equations how to compute this weight vector, and how to compute this pre-activation and activation. And we saw that this general equation here, so which I have given here. So the general equation is the activation at layer L denoted by ZL. So this is a vector. So this will be something like, so this here, Z11, Z12, Z13. So that means each of this term, Z11, this means pre-activation of neuron 1 of layer 1. So similarly, if I say ZLI, that means pre-activation of neuron I of layer L. So you take care of it. So if then in a layer there are certain number of neurons, I arrange them all inside a vector, and that will give me the pre-activation vector ZL, and that is in vectorized form equal to WL, and then we take the transpose of it times AL minus 1, and this is a vector. Fine. So this is the and then plus BL, the bias term here. So this is the equation here. And similarly, we can compute the activation vector as by simply passing the terms of this pre-activation vector through the nonlinearity. In this case, it's a softmax. We consider the softmax, but it need not be the softmax. Fine. So I hope this much is pretty clear. Then the only thing we needed to take care was how to handle the final layer, and we said that this is true for all the layers. But in the last layer, since we have to compute the probability, so we use, instead of this softmax activation in the last layer neurons, we use something called as the softmax. So as we did also in the softmax regression, so the last layer the last layer neuron, so if this is the last layer, the number of neurons will be equal to the number of classes k. So all of them will receive inputs from the previous layer. These are vectors here, one vector here, one. So this will be A of L minus 1, A of L minus 1, A of L minus 1. So all of these are vectors, and they will, so just wait a second. So all of these will receive inputs from the previous layer, and this layer here will then compute the each of the neurons here, it has an aggregation unit sigma. So ZL will be computed as always in the previous layers, similarly as it was done in the previous layer. So it will be WL, and then you take a transpose of it and then you say AL minus 1, this vector plus D of L. So this is how the Z vector will be computed. But however, the nonlinearity here is not the softmax. It is denoted by O and which is a softmax. Sorry, it is not a sigmoid. It's a softmax or nonlinear activation. So as we did in the last time, we know that the softmax activation. So if we have this ZL, if we have this ZL equal to ZL1, ZL2 dash dash dash, and then we will have ZLK because there are k number of classes. So we will have k number of neurons in the last layer. So then we have k pre-activations. Then the output layer are denoted by AL, let us say J, will be equal to softmax of ZLJ, and that will be equal to e to the power of ZLJ divided by summation k running from 1 to capital K e to the power of ZLK. Fine. So we did this thing in the softmax regression as well. If you have problems understanding it, please go back and watch that video or review that material. Fine. So this is what we did in the last class. This was just a recap, and then finally we ended the last class with the activation. So sorry, with the loss function, and because we need to optimize it for the weights, we need to find the optimal weights. So we need to have this loss function, and we said that like in the softmax regression, here also we have this loss function called as the cross entropy. Now the only difference was that there we did not name it the cross entropy because we took a different thing there. We took there something called as the log likelihood, and cross entropy is just the negative of log likelihood. So there also, if you see, instead of this negative sign, the formula was same. So for any vector, input vector x, the loss will be denoted by L is equal to minus times summation over all the k neurons, fine, over all the k classes, not the neurons, or all the k classes. So let me say j equal to 1 to capital K, yk, that is the true label, fine, true label, times log of, this is the natural log, yk cap. Now here instead of yk cap, we don't have yk cap, we have basically ALK. So this is what the loss function will look like, fine. So that is the thing. Now, as we did in the previous all classifiers, the linear regression, logistic regression, and the softmax regression, we need to find the optimal weights, fine. This is okay. We said that we will compute the pre-activation, we will compute the activation, but the underlying assumption there was that we have some W and we have the B's, fine. We have the W's and we have the B's, but the reality is that we need to figure out what these W's and B's are from the data. That is what the whole training process is about, and now we need to find the training process. So we have all the ingredients. So finally we have the loss function as well. Now from the loss function we have to find out the W and B, fine. So that is what we are going to do in this class. But before going there, I need to remind you people that all of this will be dependent upon something called as the chain rule, fine. So chain rule basically says, so let me go here. So chain rule basically says if we have a function like we have y is equal to f of g of x, fine. So we have two functions. So basically if we can say that b is equal to g of x, then our y basically becomes f of v, fine. So now if we have to find dy by dx, how do we do that? So we will simply go say, okay, d by dx of, and then y is basically now f of v, fine. So what we will do is we will differentiate this f of v, so it will be f dash of v, but then this v is in turn dependent upon x, so then we will multiply it with dv by dx, and that will be equal to f dash of v, fine, multiplied by this is g of x, so then will be g dash of x. Fine. So this basically will be f dash of g of x multiplied by g dash of x. This is basically what the chain rule is all about. So we can take an example. So basically, you people have to revise this chain rule if you have to if you want to do this whole thing to understand the whole concept here. You need to be well versed. So let me take this example here: sine of 2x cube minus 4x. Right? So let me take this example. So sine of 2x cube minus 4x. Let me check if this is same. 2x cube minus 4x. Yes, fine. So what we can do is we can find the intermediate function. So let me assume this y is equal to sine of 2x cube minus 4x. Now I can take this part here. So I can take this part here and I can call it u, fine, or v or u, something. So I can say u is equal to 2x cube minus 4x, fine, minus 4x. Then finally my y then becomes sine of u, fine. Now if I have to find dy by dx, it will be d by dx of sine of u. We know that the differentiation of sine of u is cos of u, but now we have to differentiate this u as well. Now here we can find du by dx, that is equal to 3 to the 6x square minus 4. So now multiply here by du by dx, and that will be equal to cos of, I can again resubstitute the value of u, that is 2x cube minus 4x multiplied by 6x square minus 4. This is 6x square minus 4. So that is how you will calculate dy over dx. Fine. And this is not only this is not only not only for two functions, that is the composite function f of g of x. No, we can have multiple layers there. So we can have f of g of h of x, so something like that. And then we just have to continue on doing. So if we have to do this function, so let me take another example and then maybe we can move on to the actual thing. So let me take another example which will demonstrate how to do it for many levels of So let me take this y equal to e to the power of sine of x square, right? Y equal to e to the power of sine of x square. So y is equal to e to the power of sine of x square. So the first thing is again to identify the composition. So you can see here y can be treated as e to the power. Let me treat this as a separate function, e to the power of u. So where u is equal to sine of x square, fine. Now this can be again treated as, u can be treated as sine of x instead of x. So x square I can substitute as v, we can say sine of v, where v is equal to x square, fine. So now I can go on and solve this function. So I can say dy over dx is equal to d over dx of y is equal to e to the power of u, e to the power of u. I know that e to the power of u is nothing but, and then here multiplied by du by dx, fine. And e to the power u of nothing is nothing but e to the power of u, and then I have to compute this du by dx. Now du by dx here I can compute. So du by dx is equal to d by dx of sine of v, then multiply again, chain rule it will apply here because v is again dependent upon x. So dv by dx. So sine of u is nothing but, yes, is cos of v multiplied by dv by dx. Now I can find dv by dx. So dv by dx is nothing but d by dx of x square, that is basically twice x. So now I can substitute this here. So this will become cos of v times 2x, cos of v times 2x. This I can substitute back here. Du by dx is cos of v times 2x. Fine. So cos of v times 2x, and then I can finally substitute. I can substitute as sine of x square multiplied by cos of v is nothing but x square multiplied by twice x, and that is how you find dy by dx. And so this was just an example. You can practice many other examples at your own places, but that is basically the gist of it. So if you have a general composition, f of g of dash 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 finally x, so you have to go on and if you want to compute the differential of this whole function with respect to x, you have to differentiate each of these functions and then multiply by the differentiation of the internal function. Fine. So this will be f dash of x multiplied by the differentiation of the internal function multiplied by uski internal mein jo function hai h of x, uski differentiation, and so on and so forth until you reach the inner function. So that is basically what the chain rule is, and that chain rule is what we are going to use in our back propagation. Fine. So now we have this weight function. Sorry, we have this loss function. L is equal to minus times summation j running from 1 to capital K. So remember, K is the number of classes. Fine. So and that happens to be equal to the number of neurons in the last layer. That is equal to yk times log of ALK. Now if we have to find out the this differentiation with respect to the weight vector W, this weight vector, so because this ALK is basically O of, so O is the activation function in the output layer, ZLK, and ZLK is in turn equal to WL whole transpose AL minus 1 vector plus BL. So to find this, we have to go through these things. Fine. So just as we saw in the previous things, how to do the chain rule. So this is also one of the chain rules. So to find this dou L by dou WL, we need to find first the dou L by dou ZK. Fine. So dou ZL. And then once we find this, then we can substitute those values and then differentiate. We can find then dou ZL by dou WL, and then substitute these two values and back we can find. Fine. So that is basically the chain rule we have to carry out. So in order to find out the different terms, we must know the intermediate. So here I have written it. Now the differentiation of this loss function with respect to the weight of the third layer, that is basically equal to the differentiation of this loss function with respect to the activation of the third layer, and then carry on the chain rule, differentiation of activation with respect to pre-activation of the third layer, and again carry on the chain rule, differentiation of this pre-activation of the third layer with respect to the weight matrix. So in order to find out this term here, I must know this term, I must know this term, and I must know also this term. Fine. So that is what we are going to do. So the first thing is, now we will try to find out dou Z. So this basically here, these two terms here basically are dou L by dou ZL. Fine. So once we knew so in this case dou Z3, the third layer. Fine. So once we know this thing, then we can multiply it by dou Z3 by dou W3, and we can find out this will be basically dou L by dou W3. So we need to first find out this term, dou L by dou Z3. Then we will find this term, and later on we can find out this. So let us first find out this term. That's what we are going to do. So if as you can see here, let us complete this in 10 minutes, and then we can again rejoin for the rest of the section. Fine. So the meeting is going to end in 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes we can complete this thing. Fine. So you can see now we have to calculate this dou Z. Let me see here. So L is a scalar. Now differentiation of a scalar with respect to a vector. So ZL is a vector. This will result in this thing. So please remember it. So this will be the differentiation of scalar with respect to each component of this vector. So this will be dou ZL1 and then dou L by dou ZL2 dash 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 dou L by dou ZL, and then K is the number of classes. Fine. So this is how it will look like. So what we are going to do is we will take any of these items here, any of the components from this vector. So this now dou L by dou ZL, this is basically a vector. Fine. To find what this whole vector is equal to, we will take one component of it, find the expression for it, and then generalize it to the whole vector. That is the methodology we will follow throughout this backpropagation algorithm. So what we will take any of the kth element of this whole vector and try to find out what the differentiation of that looks like with respect to ZL. Fine. So what we are going to do is we will take dou L by dou ZL K. Fine. So this means the K, so this is a small k, huh? So not the capital K. So that means what is the differentiation of this loss function with respect to one of the pre-activations of the last layer. Fine. So you can see I have done it here. So instead of L, we can substitute the value of L, that is yi minus times j running from 1 to k yj log of yj cap. Fine. Now yj cap is nothing but the last layer activation, so that is why I wrote it as aj of 3. Now aj of 3 is nothing but the output of the softmax. Fine. So that is here. Now O of Z3k, I again will reiterate it. I had done it the last slide as well. So this is equal to e to the power of Z3k divided by summation from all the other neurons, one e to the power of Z3k. So that is how we do it. Or let me change the e equal to 1 to capital K. I change the index here, index variable. So that is how this equation looks like. Now you can take the differentiation inside the summation, because sum of differential is equal to the differential of the sums, or differential of the sums is equal to the sum of differential. So you can take this differentiation inside, but however yj is constant, you can pull it out. So now you can differentiate this part here. Now this is again the chain rule. This is basically the differentiation of log of another function and then zj. Fine. So we know that the differentiation of log is 1 over x. So we have d by dx of log of x is equal to 1 over x. So that's what we have done here. So this is the whole argument of the log. So we will take the inverse of it. So yj times the inverse of this function. So that will be summation and divided by e to the power z3k. Now multiplied by, because of the chain rule, we will have to differentiate this whole function, this argument, with respect to Z3k. Fine. So the kth component of the third layer activation. So that is what we are going to do here. Now before that, if you can see here, this is nothing but the inverse of the activation, jth layer activation. So that is why we wrote it as yj divided by a3j. I hope this is clear for everybody. And then now we will find out this differentiation, what this differentiation looks like. Fine. Now to calculate this differential, we need to consider two cases. So there will be two cases, two different separate cases for computing this differential. So let me write it here. Let me change the color maybe. So the differentiation of d by d Z3k. So these are partials, sorry, these are partials. So this is again partial. This will be equal to the differentiation of, as you can see here, nothing magic here, e to the power of Z3j divided by summation over p e to the power of Z3p. Now there are two cases here now. Now in case this j is equal to this k, fine, or let us take the case when j is not equal to k. In that case, this part becomes a constant, so we can pull this out. So we only have to then find out the differentiation of this part. Fine. And in case j is equal to k, then it's basically again a differentiation of u by v. Fine, differentiation of u by v. So we know that that there is a formula for that thing, or similarly we can also find it at d by dx of u v minus 1. So first function and the second function, second function, first function. So you can see these are two separate cases now. In one case, when j is not equal to k, then this term becomes a constant and we can pull it out. We only have to differentiate this part here. But once j becomes equal to k, for certain cases j will be equal to k, then in that case this is basically a differentiation of two separate functions. Right? So those two separate cases we will take separately. So let me take it as the first case now. When j is not equal to k. Now when j is not equal to k, this term, as I said, will be constant, so we can pull it out. So e to the power of z3j, and then differentiation of this whole term inverse. So that is what we are going to do. The inverse, so we know that x to the power of a is equal to a times x to the power of a minus 1. So naturally x to the power minus 1 will be equal to minus 1 over x square. So that's what we have done, minus 1 over this whole term pulled down raised to power 2 multiplied by now the differentiation of this whole term. Fine. So that's what we have done. Now we can open this term up. This will be basically e to the power of z31, z32, z3k, so on and so forth. Since we are differentiating with respect to k, all the other terms will be constant. Only this term will remain. So the differentiation of this term with respect to z3k will be again e to the power of z3k, and then multiplied by differentiation of z3k will be equal to 1. So finally this will become, so this part here, if you can see, e to the power of z3j divided by this summation, this will be a3j, and then e to the power of z3k divided by this thing will be this thing. So finally, for the case when j is not equal to k, then the differential will become minus times a3j a3k. So this is for the one case we have done. So we will end it now, and in the next, when we meet again, we will do it for the next case. Fine. So I will end the meeting here, and please rejoin. Fine. So end meeting.